There were 5 with Kurt Cameron. Was talking about like the quality of the toilet paper, and he's like, "What does this have to do with the business?"
Fact check.
What did they do?
Fact check. Welcome to the Familyguide podcast presented by Movieguide. But first, I want to thank our sponsor, you.
There actually is so many crazy things happening. I think that one of the important ones I thought was to talk about was the whole Elon Musk Twitter thing. Because it does feel like Twitter has become like the topic at all times.
Yes.
The funny thing is, like, I've never really cared that much about Twitter. Now, to be fair, I don't really use much of any social network. So if you follow me, I'm sorry. But I just, it's been interesting that like it's in the news at all times, because it was in the news that he went from like 12,000 people to like 3,000 people, it was in the news that he, that he had fired, he had let those people go. So from 12,000 to like 3,000 people, because it includes contractors, and I read this really interesting article about the fact that, people are kind of mad about that he's now focusing on like the product and profit, which is literally the
Almost
point.
Seems like the point, yeah.
Yeah, we had this discussion last time, but like I do feel like a lot of companies during the good times have kind of forgotten like the point of their company. Like they focused, it's important to take care of your employees, but they focused on the employee over the customer. Right. And like the point of it is the customer, Yeah. And it seems like there have been so many doomsday things like oh, the platform is going to die or all these things, and it's actually done well. I think it's done better than it's ever done.
They said their traffic's higher than ever. The thing is, like when they were saying, "Oh my gosh, Elon's destroying it," whatever, firing all these people, but like Meta let off like 11,000 people. I know. Google let off 10,000. Like they're all
letting people go. And the thing is that like. The article I read was nervous because they were like, oh no, now people are going to realize like that these tech companies actually didn't need as many employees as they had, and I remember one of the big deals about it is that the guy who was the former CEO of PayPal, he was bringing up like, he's like, yay, now finally we're going to be able to, maybe people are going to be able to focus on product and the engineers aren't going to demand so much, because I guess like he was talking about one company meeting where there were like thousands of people on the call and one of the engineers was talking about like the quality of the toilet paper, and he's like, what does this have to do with the business? Like, just do your job. So I do think that might be a cultural shift, which typically happens in times of a recession or whatever. But I think it also shows that if he's able to make it work with less people, that the process works. And I do think it's interesting about people getting kind of like mad about the free speech thing. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I mean, what are your thoughts on
the free speech thing? Like allowing like...
Yeah, I think that the free speech thing, just in the sense of like, I mean, mostly it was just like bringing like Christian conservatives back on Twitter. Right. You know what I mean? But like...
it's funny when they all freak out about... free speech, but then like literally we're censoring all these people, like literally blocking them out. And then like, I don't know. I think the thing with free speech is it's really important for all the great ideas to be exposed, but it's also just as important to expose all the horrible bad ideas.
Just so that society gets
right. So
gets rid of it, or like,
I mean, you can,
I mean, I guess the beauty of Twitter, supposedly, like for those of you who don't use it, because I didn't really use it, but I've researched more about it, is it's kind of like an online like comment board to like an article. Like if you go to an article and you write the comments, it's just basically like everybody can comment on any topic. Yeah. So I think that within that guise, then it's like, oh yeah, it makes sense to put these ideas out there because anybody can kind of comment, can disagree, and I know that he's added a feature called Community Notes where it will like verify stuff, but from the community perspective, saying like, hey, this is inaccurate. And it's actually even said some of his tweets were inaccurate.
Because they used to have, a board of like moderators or something like that?
Now it's just the community itself, But I think that's pretty interesting because Twitter had banned, banned Babylon Bee. You know what I mean? Like it
Satire
banned,
site.
like it banned Jordan Peterson.
Yeah.
You know, and so like
Yeah.
those people are now brought back on.
Yeah.
And so I think that'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see kind of like what happens and where that goes. But I do feel like my news, like all the news that I read from different sources, is just like it is constantly about like what Elon Musk is doing next, and it's like,
Yeah.
okay,
I guess it's hitting all those fields of like a new CEO, the Elon Musk like wave and all the excitement with him and SpaceX, and then Twitter and the tech thing and all this stuff is all kind of accumulated in the stories now. So,
well, I just read a article, and I'm not sure if it was in the Wall Street Journal or Forbes or something, but it was about the fact that they have, like one of his big emphasis is to be able to get rid of all like negative content around like children or anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that they said that the woman who's in charge of that, like the head of that, she says that they've taken down more
Tons of stuff.
in 1 month under that than what they did in 6 months. And I thought that was pretty interesting.
That's huge.
In
That's
the mix.
huge.
So I
Cool.
don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I think that the nature of human beings is to kind of like to try to idolize somebody, and I just feel like it's always something to be careful about. You know what I mean? Because you have like one side of the aisle that like idolized Elon Musk for a while, and the other side villainized it. Now it's almost like flipped completely. You know what I mean? Where one side is now villainizing it, and the other.
Yeah.
But really, like the truth is that human beings are fallible. Like they make mistakes. Don't build your like you can learn things from people, but like we really only have one person to look at. You know, Jesus.
Right.
You know, and like everyone else is going to let us down in the mix of it. And so I think it's important to not like raise someone up so high, you know what I mean? Because that's oftentimes what happens with these pastors.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Is these pastors become such huge celebrities, and then, you know, they sometimes fall. Like some of them are amazing, like Rick Warren or whatever, or Billy Graham, who was incredible all of his life. But, you know, there's been a whole stream of some of these people, like the Hillsong people or whatever, that kind of fell from bad stuff, you know what I mean? And it's like you can take down, you know, people's faith even gets taken down in it.
Right.
Because they're looking,
Sadly.
it was really sad, but it's like they're looking at the wrong thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like you got to look on Jesus, like someone falling who is a pastor, which is horrible. That doesn't disprove Christianity.
Exactly.
If anything, it's just like we're all sinful.
Yeah, exactly.
Sinful, you know.
Yeah.
In the mix.
Yeah. Yeah, because you run into a lot of people, especially young people in LA or something. They're like, well, I used to go to church and everything, but then the church burned me, so now I don't go to church. I don't believe in God. It's like, well, you were basing your relationship on God with your focus on the church and the people at the church. You weren't focused on Jesus. Like, I mean, your faith needs to hold you through anything, right?
Right.
And if you don't have that firm foundation, then you're not going to.
Well, the fundamental value of the church is it's not like a country club of like successful people.
Yeah.
It's a hospital.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Of like absolutely like messed up
Yeah.
people like coming together and just trying to like figure out life together.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I think, you know, as long as you keep that in focus. So I do think it's kind of fascinating what's happening currently in the world and even the Twitter side. But I do think it's an important thing to kind of make sure to keep stuff in context, because it's like today, like one side of the aisle might love someone and then villainize him, and those things, you know.
Politics too. People idolize politicians and treat them like celebrities, and well, celebrities too. You can't idolize any of these people.
Yeah.
You know. So
yeah, it's just be careful. Guard your heart on that, you know. You know, speaking of someone who kind of is always meshes kind of politics and celebrity, is I guess Kevin Sorbo is now working on a new Left Behind or something in the mix of it.
Yeah.
Now I know that there've been like 2 or 3 movie versions,
There's
right?
been
Kurt Cameron.
Didn't they do 3 with Kurt Cameron?
Oh, I don't know.
I think.
Gabby?
Fact check.
What did they do? Fact check.
I think they did 3. It's like a trilogy. And then what's his name? Nicholas Cage.
Nicholas Cage did one.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right. I remember that. So that was 2.
And Phil Robertson was in it, I think.
Really?
Yeah, we interviewed him for that.
Wow.
There's 5.
There are 5 with Kurt Cameron?
Oh, not with Kurt Cameron, just in general.
There's just 5 movies.
5 movies in general, and
They
only
should-
one with Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
I mean, Nick Cage in there? That's
Yeah.
pretty big.
I know.
Big, actually. But I guess that they are remaking it again. But Kevin Sorbo is the director, right? In the mix?
Yeah, I think.
So
Can we fact check that too?
There's 4 of them, and then the third one. So there's two reboots. The first one is Left Behind 2014, and then there's gonna be a 2023 one. So there's.
Oh dang!
Wow. So there's one that's coming out next year. I think.
Is this a reboot or
Yeah, it's
another
it's
soft reboot?
It's a reboot.
It looked like the reboot from the trailer.
It's a. It's coming out in January or something. Kevin Sorbo is directing it, right?
Is that okay? Yes. Fact checked, confirmed.
So he's directing it. Corbin Berenson's in it. Neil
Yeah.
McDonald.
Yeah.
So it's
Neil's gonna play the villain at the
Oh really?
UN. The UN plays the New World Order.
Wow. Well, wow. So they're remaking it, and it's actually going to come out in theaters.
Cool. Yeah. Looks
So
like it.
that'll
In
be
January.
which is typically, for anyone who cares about the industry, January is usually a month that most studios avoid. And I
Yeah.
remember actually when I worked for Disney, which I know is like not a word you're allowed to say anymore among Christians. But it was like 17 years ago or something. But we would plan out our movies like 3 years in advance, and there's like certain key periods that you try to hit. Obviously, like May was like a crucial, super powerful time, you know.
So they
and then
call the tentpole time,
yeah,
right?
tentpole time, and then Thanksgiving was like a crucial time. But like January was kind of a dead season because it's award season, which award season is coming back, and so typically people kind of avoided that. But it might, you know, sometimes what like established players like avoid can be opportunities for smaller players to get a foothold because people still want to watch content.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, there's a lot of different research on the economy right now, and people are saying all over the spectrum of stuff. But it looks like, you know, a lot of the major players are saying that, you know, it's going to be a recession. The problem is we don't know how bad. And I'm, you know, if you disagree, please comment below and tell us the reasons. We'd love to know. I mean, we'd rather it not be a recession. But you know, the goal of the Fed is to kind of put it into recession so that inflation goes down. So
Right.
usually, typically, like content does better in those times. So like content is typically more successful.
Well, that was even true during the Depression, right?
Yeah, movies do better. Yeah, because my grandfather was actually like a famous actor in the 30s, and like he worked for a bank and they went out of business. He worked for another company and they went out of business, and so he was actually like in a food line, and this agent said, "Hey, you should do movies or whatever," and so he ended up becoming like a Western star. But yeah, it was like one of the best paid things because people still because it's harder to afford vacations or other things, but you can still watch unlimited content for $8.99 or whatever on some
Back
streaming
then, a
service.
nickel for half a day of
Right.
serial movies.
So it'll be interesting to see. So Left Behind in January. Then I
Cool.
know that you know, award season is coming back.
Yes, sir.
It's going to be in person, which is going to be cool. We're already working on our Movie Guide Awards, which everybody stay tuned. It's going to be fun and cool and crazy and hopefully God honoring.
No, it will be.
What else? You know, the thing that was released recently is that new documentary about Harry and Meghan. And I know that like I know that the royals are like really kind of preparing themselves for what's going to happen. You know, because the Harry and Meghan are in the royal family. For those who don't know, maybe you can. Do you know the details?
I don't actually know all the details.
I know that my wife loves watching this, and I know a lot of people enjoy.
We should call your wife in.
That's right. We should call her in. But basically, like, so she's gonna get mad if I mess this up. Okay. So we all know the Queen. She was amazing, extremely Christian. You can even watch there was an episode of The Crown where her husband comes to Christ through Billy Graham, which is very powerful.
Awesome episode.
He passed away, I think, almost a year ago, and then she passed away. Within that year, there's actually something called, I think it's called like the Nightingale syndrome, or there's a certain thing where a lot of times when people have been married so long that they pass close together. And so now it's passed on to Charles, and he has kids, which I'm sure everyone listening to this podcast already knows this, but William and Harry, and William is married to Kate.
This is the most British names. It's perfect.
And then Harry is married to Meghan.
Right.
Now, Meghan is a celebrity.
Yes.
She was a celebrity in Hollywood. She did the Suits TV show.
Deal, no deal.
I don't know what else she did. But the thing is that they, they got married, and then they extricated themselves from the royal family. Yeah. They left being billionaires and traveling the world and having palaces everywhere. It was too difficult.
It's a tough life.
It was too hard.
Right.
And I know she did that Oprah interview about how hard it is. And I know that she did a recent interview that she talked with somebody about how difficult it was for them struggling with the idea of affording a $14 million house in Montecito. And I think it was like trying to be relatable, but it's like
royal problems.
I don't think anyone is relating about a $14 million house.
I mean, when we were trying to put a down payment on our $20 million house, it was,
Wow. Yeah, $20 million house, you probably wouldn't work here. But I just think that I saw that there's a report that their approval ratings are just like basically just in the dirt. Like everybody hates them, and they were booed when they went to like the Queen's funeral. Like they were actually like booed when they walked into the.
Well, they kind of blew off the whole family.
Yeah, they blew off the whole family. But it like what the speculation is that she just really wanted to. Still be a famous actress or whatever. She wanted to be an actress, which I think she'd always been like kind of like in the lower tier actress anyway, because she just had done Suits. But I know that she wanted to be like a famous actress in the mix. Mm-hmm. And so you can't do that if you're in the royal family. But the thing that's so funny to me is that like she would have been more famous. You know what I mean? Like she's not going to like lose out on fame. How about that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I know that they stepped down to that. I know that they're like Charles is obviously helping them because they bought a $15 million house in Montecito or whatever. But they are King Charles. I'm sure you're supposed to say that he's a king.
We're in America.
But I know that their ratings are like so low, but they made I think they made like $100 million deal or something, some crazy deal with Netflix.
Oh. Is that her acting?
Or they made a deal and then they lost the deal because people thought, hey, they're not that valuable anymore, because
so they had
their ratings are so low.
Yeah.
But then I think they made another deal with Netflix. So I don't know if those deal like is Netflix actually disclosed or whatever. Because Netflix thought, this controversy would get people to check. And so
they kind of died off.
I know that their documentary has launched or whatever about the difficulties and stuff like that of their life.
I thought this was like a documentary kind of like exposing them or something.
No, I think it's a documentary about the difficulty of their life.
The difficult day in their life getting to the private jet.
The hard life of being multi-billionaires who are famous. It's so hard. No, I don't know. Maybe it is hard.
It could be hard. Everyone's going through their own battles.
No, you're right. Everybody has their own struggles, so maybe there is some difficulty. But I think that there are all these different attempts to kind of try to connect with an audience. But it's been interesting that it seems like progressively each one of these attempts have actually like lowered their credibility in like the audience or whatever. And I think it is kind of that relatability element. Mm-hmm. And the truth is that like the beauty of Christianity is the fact that like, yes, it doesn't matter if you're rich or you're poor. It doesn't matter what ethnic group it is. It doesn't matter where you live in the world. Mm-hmm. Like people are hurting, you know what I mean? And they need Jesus, and Jesus loves them completely. But I think that also stuff is about timing. You know what I mean? Yeah. And like saying like, oh my gosh, it was, so hard, and they had to stoop down and stay at the Four Seasons.
I mean,
is not like
when in the
very
middle of a
acceptable
recession,
when we're like,
yeah,
people are hurting badly. You know what I mean?
paying
Like
$6 a gallon just trying to get to work.
I
and
know.
Then people are complaining about their $14 million Mendocino house.
I know.
a
It's
little
just it's hard because people are hurting pretty badly.
Yeah.
And so I just feel like from a timing perspective, it couldn't be
bit. Right.
worse.
Read the room, people.
Yeah, but
I'm just kidding.
I think she also I think that she also missed out on an amazing opportunity because it's like you have to think about like the brand and like why people care about different aspects. And the thing is that like the thing that people like, the only reason why anybody cares about the royal family is because they love the sense of tradition and stability.
Right.
You know what I
Exactly.
mean? Like otherwise they would focus on like Kim Kardashian or something else.
That's why the
You know
crown
what I
was
mean?
popular and stuff.
Like
Because you get to see all that stuff.
It sells
Close.
like duty and tradition and history. You know what I mean? So it seems odd that like she would walk away from that because that's literally what makes that famous.
Yeah,
Do
exactly.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's its whole value proposition. If you blow that up, then there's no reason to follow
Yeah.
the royals over following Jeff Bezos. You know what I mean? Or follow Kim Kardashian.
Right.
In the mix of it.
Right.
So
That's true. That's true. And that's something that like Britain's very proud of their royal family and stuff still. It's not like I don't think they act like it's such a taboo thing. Like Meghan kind of came out and said some pretty inflammatory things against the whole royal thing. But I feel like that's kind of like their national pride is having a royal family that they can look up to and
yeah.
be proud of,
Right, but it's like it's like the fundamental like selling point of the family is tradition.
Yeah.
Consistency, like history. It's like
Yeah. It's a legacy.
it's like the selling. It's like why people are getting so mad about Disney because like the selling point of Disney was family,
Exactly.
and it's like, oh wow, now we have R-rated content on Disney Plus or like other things like that. It's like, man, the selling point was this is a safe family venue. You know what I mean? Like, or pushing different messages to little kids, and it's like this was supposed to be a safe.
It was a safe space.
Safe family venue.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so like they've disconnected from what their brand actually was. You know what I
Exactly
mean?
it. Yeah.
It's like every brand has one selling point to the audience. Apple's selling point is like privacy. You know what I mean? They just released this thing that they now encrypt everything. Okay. So like if you store something on iCloud, if you're in the United States, then it's totally encrypted. Like they don't even know it anymore.
Yeah.
Now the problem is if you lose that encryption key, you don't have it either. Nobody has it. But like their selling is privacy, complete privacy. They don't know anything that's on your phone or your device.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like the same thing. Like the Disney, their selling point was family. Just completely safe, amazing opportunity for family. Well, then they started pushing agendas. Then they added like R-rated and bad content there.
Well, it's just like what you said at the beginning is these companies stop serving their customers and they start serving something else or an agenda or employees complaining and then downhill slope.
Yeah. I know. Once you walk away from your customer, it's just
It's
a
hard to
big
go
mistake.
back.
It's a big mistake. We live in an incredible time for like different content. It's just an amazing time that, make sure you go to movieguide.org. Check us out because there is a lot of great content for your family. There's a lot of horrible content out there that you shouldn't watch, but there's a lot of great content to watch with your family too. And so go to movieguide.org. Make sure you sign up to our newsletter. We have all sorts of different newsletters that help you. And download our app on the App Store. But go to movieguide.org.